Resident Evil Survivor is a spin-off title, and it's the fourth game in the Resident Evil franchise. It ditches the iconic pre-rendered backgrounds for a full 3D environment, and places the horror in a new perspective. Resident Evil Survivor takes place after the events of Resident Evil 3. The story begins with it showing an island that's crawling with zombies, and in the distance, a helicopter has crashed, and we're soon introduced to the main protagonist, who has no memories of who and where he is. And he comes upon a lying person on the ground, holding a dog tag named Ark Thompson. And this is also where the very first zombie of Survivor is introduced, in a very anticlimactic and boring way possible. After exploring the island and fighting off some enemies, he answers a telephone call in the middle of the dark street, where someone says the name Vincent, in which the protagonist immediately assumes that he might be the person who's being called, the very same person who's responsible for the outbreak on a small island. The story is just pretty dumb, especially with its pretty obvious twist that could be guessed in just 5 seconds after you've been given the first few pieces of information.
This is me! I am Vincent!
This is the very first game in the franchise to have a full 3D environment, and for the most part, it looks pretty good, though nothing that memorable. And you probably noticed by now that most of the enemies are just copy-pasted from Resident Evil 2, with only one new enemy that isn't the final boss. The new enemy named Beauty Trooper is just stupid and very uninspired. I mean, what is this? Is this supposed to be a human or a gorilla? Make up your mind! At least the new Tyrant in this game has a cool design with its open mouth form, one of the only things that this game managed to get right. Though one thing that Survivor didn't get right is the voice acting.
Oh!
After the laughably bad voice acting of the first Resident Evil game, its sequels 2 and 3 tries to fix this by actually hiring voice actors that can act. But Survivor went back and somehow made something even worse, with a voice acting that is so bad that it's just bad.
Shh!
It's not even charming or hilarious. I mean, even the self-destruct announcer sounds so bored.
Repeat. All the personnel evacuate immediately.
RE Survivor completely get rid of everything that shapes the franchise. The limited saving and ammunition, and the iconic pre-rendered backgrounds, and sets the horror in a new perspective, like a rail shooter. Well, it's marketed as a rail shooter, but it really is more of a first-person shooter, mixed with Resident Evil's tank controls. You're able to move freely and explore the environments. However, when engaging in combat, Survivor uses the franchise's traditional tank controls, which means you won't be able to move while aiming. And it is very intense fighting of the enemies in a first-person perspective, and it actually made me jump a couple of times. But it is just completely broken when you're fighting off the more aggressive enemies, like the Lickers and the already broken Hunters. The character that you play as moves just as fast as the rotting undead, which makes the combat unnecessarily difficult. It's almost impossible to run away or make a distance from the aggressive enemies without taking any kind of damage. Before you could even rotate, they're already in front of you waiting to attack. And whenever you aim or get attacked by them, the camera would move in a very aggressive way that's almost disorientating. And if the whole combat is not enough stupid for you, well, the enemies can't hurt you if you don't look directly at them. So basically, you can finish the game just by walking backwards the whole time. This makes the enemies feel more like an obstacle rather than an actual threat. I mean, how could you be scared of this? For a supposedly on-rails type of game, it doesn't really provide any kind of reward for exploration. Yes, there are multiple routes to take, but it doesn't really change the experience. You can choose to go to a dark-long cave, or you could go to a dark-long field. What an exciting choices! And puzzles are almost non-existent. You don't even pick up any items. Your character just automatically grabs them when you step on them. Resident Evil Survivor is only an hour and a half long, but oh god, does it feel like it took forever. This is the most boring horror game I've ever played. I can't believe that for a great franchise like Resident Evil, it somehow managed to go this low. It's such an obviously rushed cash grab. If you're a fan of the survival horror trilogy, then definitely skip this one. And if you aren't a fan, well then you should definitely still skip this one.